Hi, welcome. This is Angela Coulter of Ascended World, bringing you element 2 of the course on self-responsibility as part of the Adventures in Wonderland program. And today we're talking about genetics as part of the health and general health um, section here with the self-responsibility. So many would ask, how do I have self-responsibility with genetics? Genetics is what we inherit, right? From our familial lines and stuff. So from expanded consciousness, much different perspective on what we have chosen as part of genetics. There's a couple of ways to look at it. Number one, people are going crazy these days about checking their DNA, seeing what, they have within them. And I sort of laugh because it's all just in the physical. It's all just very 3D. And essentially, if we're all one, we've had all the experiences, we've had all the nationalities and the races and the genders and all kinds of genetic markers of how we present, what we look like, how our health is, right? So now there's genetics in the physicality of our presentation, right? And then there's the physicality in our health. So I'm going to talk about both. So when we talk about that, first of all, we talk about genetics, like, oh, well, you look so Irish, you look so this. What I laugh about is, my hair, my red hair is not naturally red. It was naturally blonde, now probably naturally very gray, actually very silver. But many say, because I have the green eyes and everything, they say, oh, well, blah, 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 definitely Irish. My married last name is Coulter, which I'm going, well, how do I become Irish from a married last name? I do have a lot of Irish in my family. I do have direct descendants that are very, very Irish. My grandfather, my maternal grandfather, but many make assumptions based on, standard characteristics and everything else, right? So I want to tell you something. My understanding on genetics, and that includes your health predispositions as well as your physical predispositions, are what I understand from the expanded consciousness level as soul agreements on having a soul family kind of set of lessons, or having a set of lessons through a particular experience, right? So I remember one time somebody came in and they said they were just so worried because I think they said like their dad had passed, like there were 3 kids in their house. Their dad had passed when they were young. And then the next generation, like this individual's brother had passed or sister had passed. No, not sister, the father had died and they had 3 young kids. And then this individual was afraid that was going to happen in their family because they had 3 kids. And they were like, and so that's something funny because you think, well, can that be genetic? Well, Michael, that can be in a family agreement to learn lessons through having death of a male father figure at an early age. You have a certain kind of cancer, right? Learning lessons through, cancer toxicities of certain kinds through certain ways, right? Breast cancer can have to do with internalized toxicities of the female gender. That's how we manifest it into our physical bodies. So then we pass it down. It's like, well, that's something we pass down. And we do pass it down through genetics. And so what we do is, and then how I've been shown is that the genetic blueprint is just that it's a blueprint. Can we change it? Absolutely. It is a blueprint that we passed out on these agreements that we've had. I don't know why suddenly my voice is getting a little hoarse, a little communicating thing going on. But it's an idea of this, soul tribe, right? Soul family that we've agreed to have these particular things. Now, if you look at this, there's a movie, Cloud Atlas, great movie from, I think, the early 2000s. Yeah. It has like an all-star cast. Anyway, it's about a group of souls that move around in different lifetimes and have different roles. Like they switch roles and change roles. Sometimes they're men, sometimes they're women. And it's funny because many people, the critics, missed all that. They thought that the actors were all the same in different lives, just different parts. And it's like, no, the point is that the souls were taking different parts. So like in one lifetime, it would be Tom Hanks, because Tom Hanks is in the movie. And in one life, that soul was Michelle Pfeiffer. I think Halle Berry was in it too. I mean, it was like an all-star cast. And then it would change. So you're following this bouncing tattoo, because there was a tattoo that one particular soul kept on getting. So they sort of can figure out how everybody's related through that. But anyway, the point is there was these set of lessons through these different lifetimes that were carried out through this group of the soul family, right? So when you get completed with that, or you feel like you don't need to have those lessons that way anymore, you can absolutely change it, because many say, oh, well, if it's a soul agreement, I have to keep it. You do not. We have grown to believe we have to, and we do that in a way of feeling like we belong. We feel like that that we are victims to those situations. The self-responsibility here is, I agreed to this, and now I can change it, right? Typically, so like, let's go back to, say, breast cancer, right? Or uterine cancer, ovarian cancer, stuff that are like women can't, what they consider women cancers. Okay, so if you have that down a line genetically, it's like, well, there's an internalization of resentment, of taking resentment on the female gender, the female energies, on having to swallow those issues, because when we literally swallow, we get, toxicity in our body that creates the cancers that gets out of whack and can't clear out of our bodies. So often it's something passed down on a larger perspective of saying, yeah, we want to complete this set of lessons on that particular, in this particular way. And then you can say, you know what? I see it. I appreciate it. If you go back to course 4 on forgiveness, we talk about, for apologizing, forgiving, accepting, embracing love, and have gratitude for all the lessons that were incorporated in that. And now I can let it go. It's complete. So we can change that, right? So we might have a genetic marker that says we have a predisposition to this. It does not mean that we have to abide by that agreement. It does not mean that we have to have it. We can eliminate that altogether. And yeah, they're doing all these studies now that show that simply the thoughtful intention can, AKA meditation, energy work, whatever, we can change our DNA through that, right? The DNA, which is our genetic blueprint. We have, like, so here's something. And then if we look at physical traits, right? Here's an example. And I never saw this until I started doing this work. And then I was shown one day meditation, because it was something that had always puzzled me. I had bright blue eyes all the way up through my childhood. And I remember when I was like in middle school, I had this teacher, and she was not a great teacher. She was an angry woman, but she had these beautiful, beautiful, beautiful green eyes, like the green in this pot, like that word that over my shoulder. And I remember looking at her and saying, I really would love to have that color eyes. I think that is just incredible. And, at some point my eyes started getting hazily, and then they started turning. And by the time I got out of high school, my eyes were green. And I never really thought about the transition until one day I had forgotten that my eyes had been blue, until I saw pictures of me when I was a younger kid, and the eyes are like blue, like the blue in the sky and the painting over my shoulder. And so I changed that. Now, if you look at my family, there is no one else in my family, and I'm not adopted, definitely not, who has green eyes, right? So people say, oh, well, what do they call that? Recessive genes, right? Well, we all have the genes for all the possibilities. We can choose to put them in place as a human. We set up a genetic ladder as a human to be what human looks like, to be how we structure the bodies and stuff like that. And we can change that. We're learning to remember how to do that. We're remembering how to do that. I did the same thing with curly hair. I always had wavy, thick, wavy hair, but it had really no curl, not very much curl at all. And I remember thinking, I had a friend in high school and her hair was very, very curly. She could get it wet, come out, just pick it out, it'd be great. And I thought, I would love to have curly hair like that. And after I was done having kids, and it didn't happen like some people say, oh, it was pregnancy. Like, and I know sometimes that can help, right? But I remember after I was done having kids, I realized my hair had gotten really curly, like to that point where I could just pick it out and whatever. And so again, I don't have that in my family at all. So on either side. So like there are things, and I was shown one time in meditation, you change these things just by choosing to change them, by choosing to be them, saying, I would really love to do this, right? And I didn't dwell on it. I simply put it out there and let it create. And it did. Now, trying to figure out how to change the color so that it stays this color without me having a diet. It might not serve me in this lifetime, but we'll see. I'll let you know if it happens. So we can change anything. And the first step is taking self-responsibility to say, I set this up so that I had these set of lessons. I have my body shape, my body type, my predisposition to say diabetes or whatever, all by certain lessons. And the key is then to say, well, what does diabetes represent in the body? It's a very deep form of self-loathing and not being able to function properly. So anything in the digestive system. But then there's all these different kinds of areas, all these different kinds of ways, having certain kinds of disabilities that we pass down. So we can stop that and we can say, okay, all right, done with this set of lessons, done with having to do this way. So that's what we're going to work on, coming to that place of self-responsibility, because once we take that self-responsibility, well, then we can definitely change it. So today's creation statement, which is the same for all the health ones, so we stay consistent over the umbrella of what we're talking about today in the genetics. So it is with ease, joy, and love that I acknowledge, accept, and embrace my responsibility and empowerment in the creation of all aspects of my overall health and genetics, past, present, and future. So as we have done many times in the other courses, and we did in element 1, close your eyes, take a deep breath, open your heart. And as we step out of separation, back into wholeness and oneness, we hold ourselves at the vibration where this is our truth. This is from where we exist, create, and experience. All right. Sorry, I had to cut that one short because we running a little long on this, but what was really cool was I saw this ladder, and it almost looked like oh, like a really holographic keyboard in a way. And it was like, I've had this key that I was given a long time ago. And I was like, I had forgotten about it, but out there, I had it around my neck and I pulled it out and I was like, oh, it's the key to open these doors. And it was like, I turned something at the end of the string and it was like, oh, look, I can just manipulate these changes as I want. And I was like, oh, this is fun. This is fun. Unlocking all those possibilities and changing our form. We're accessing new parts of our DNA that we haven't accessed in a really long time, have been dormant. And in doing so, it's like part of it is taking that full responsibility to say, I created that blueprint. I created it. So I can change it now. So on that, our post video affirmation is, I am responsible for and empowered by the creation of all aspects of my health, including my genetics, past, present, and future. So sit on that and open your heart to allow possibilities for that. And we'll see you for the next element. Thank you.